Hey fellow travellers, hope you're having a good day. It's been a few days. Just going to continue on with the 12-step philosophy. Today I'm going to have a look at 5, 6, 7, 8 steps. Maybe a really short recap on 1, 2, 3, 4. Also just want to give out to a shout out to a video I just watched about toxic shame. What is it and how to heal it? The YouTuber is Heidi Priebe, Priebe. It was a great video, 40 minutes long. I loved it. Hopefully you'll get something out of it too. I was drawn to that video because of my own toxic shame, and I'm going to give an example of that in a minute about how that played out for me, an experience that I had some months ago. So a couple of months ago, or not couple, probably about 4 or 5, I was living out in an off-grid community. I was going through some stuff. I don't even recall what it was. I was struggling a bit. I was trying to find a different perspective on something that was going on for me. I'd given up weed, but I was always a bit of a proponent that every now and again a bit of plant medicine will help to flip the script, give you a 180 degree different perspective on something. And I knew I was hurting anyway, so I decided to have a puff on a joint and go for a walk around the community, which was at that time very quiet. There was hardly anybody there. 137 acres, so I had a big walk around very slowly, just me getting jiggy with God, and really trying to drop into it and see what the hell was going on. Now, I've experienced this thing before, but what came up for me at that time was God, why am I so wrong? I just feel so wrong, so incredibly wrong as a going human concern, as a man, as a human, as an entity, as an individual. I just wrong, fundamentally flawed, cracked, worthless. What the hell is the point? What's the point of my experience? You know, I was 59 years young at the time. What the hell am I doing here? Etc. And as I said, I was living in and still am, in an off-grid community scenario, which has been instrumental in my development in the last 6 months. I genuinely believe that Mama Earth has grown me organically as a man, as a human being, as a being. I felt such a great sense of connectedness and belonging to that land, a sense of belonging that I'd never felt in all of my 59 years. There was only one other place that I felt that I belonged, I truly belonged, and that was drunk, wasted. That felt safe to me. So addictions are very, very common, in fact likely, when a person has a toxic shame vibe going on, or a belief system going on within them. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to go through that. And you know, I've heard it defined as toxic shame as I am wrong, healthy shame as I've done something wrong, for those that you don't know, but I presume that a lot of you do. So I just wanted to touch on that and give a shout out to that. So I wanted to continue briefly on with the step stuff. I've done more, you know, even more healing in the last 4 or 5 days since I haven't done a video. I've been doing journaling, been dropping into my heart space more. I've been having conversations with other men and women that are consciously expanding, that are on the same page as me as far as believing that my true life's purpose is to expand as a man, expand in my consciousness, bring my unconscious to my conscious, shine light on my unconsciousness. My experience is that a very high percentage, maybe 95% of a lot of our behaviour comes from our unconscious beliefs, and we act out of them, often to our own detriment. It's usually a coping strategy of some sort, whatever it might be: porn, drugs, alcohol, gambling, relationships, food, you name it, anything to distract, distract from the feeling. But so we act out of this pain, fear based unconsciousness, which in turn sets up a self-fulfilling prophecy and brings about further harm to ourselves and or others. And that's not necessarily to say that it's wrong either. If you've made a commitment to a healing journey or a spiritual journey of expansion or consciousness or whatever, and you're doing that on the regular, and your commitment is there, and sometimes you'll want to waver because it's just too much, it's too painful. You're just like, I can't deal with that today. But for the most part, stuff's going to come up, and it comes up for you. So I've really begun, holding to that phrase, life happens for me, not to me. I'm not a victim of life. My life is a projection of what's going on inside me. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and so on and so forth. As within, so without. As above, so below. And so I'm a firm believer in that. And so our life experience is just a big cinematic screen, and we will consciously or unconsciously manifest situations into our lives to bring about our highest good, our highest development. And it's about dealing with those things on the spot. But sometimes we can't always do that because we don't have the awareness. We only know what we don't. We only know what we know. And we do. We pretty much do the best with what we've got. I'm going to put my glasses on. Excuse me. We do what we can with the information that we've got at hand at the time. So the steps, rightio. Step one, just a recap. We admitted we're powerless. The powerlessness thing sticks in some people's throat. It's, I've spent quite a lot of time pondering it as well. If we are in fact source energy and we are co-creators in our own reality, then how is it that we're powerless? We might have created something internally that manifests itself externally, and that's just the natural law. That's just the natural law of it. But I think it's probably referring to the ego. In fact, I'll say that. It is referring to our ego. Anyone that's struggled with addictions has I'll speak for myself. I had a huge yet extremely fragile ego construct. I created a reality that felt safe for me to be in because I couldn't deal with actual reality or someone else's reality, or however way you want to look at it. So powerless, yeah. Got to a point where the ego that was built up around the addiction, we were just so stuck. So stuck. Trapped will, I've heard it said as trapped will. And we didn't know how to get out. Through our own thinking, through our own egoic thinking. the unmanageable part of it was, yeah, when your addiction is costing you more than money. Any addiction that you've got is going to cost you money. The unmanageability part is, you know, is it costing you more than money? Time, sickness, health, relationships, employment, accommodation, all that sort of stuff, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Came to believe that the power greater, that's why this is where the ego and the power greater, or your higher self, whichever you want to call it, a power greater than your own conscious egoic thought. We get to that point of such brokenness where we become willing to do just about anything to come right. Now, I just want to say in regard to that, you know, too, I've heard people say in 12-step meetings that, you know, if God told me to stand on my head and eat shit in the corner, I'd do it. Fuck off, I wouldn't do that. No way I'd do that. It's an internal, you know, coming to a place of despair and surrender where I believe that something can and will help me, and I turn my will and my life over to that. It becomes unconditional. It's not like I turn over my will and my life to the care of God to deal with my drinking problem, but I'm going to deal with my romance and my finance and where I live and my job, and I'm keeping those compartments for myself, for me to manage. And when one gets really honest with themselves and reflects in hindsight, in my own case, how was I doing in all those areas of my life? You know, I've been married 3 times, divorced 3 times. I was just about to get married for a 4th time. Yeah, so obviously relationships were really affected. I hadn't worked for a very, very long time. Now, I had a 20-year period where I had not worked. So that was affected. My health was affected. My finances were affected. My living situations were affected. I ended up in bus shelters. I was homeless for periods of time. I lived in Salvation Army night shelters, church doorways, people's couches. And it was a pretty hard life, you know what I mean? It was a pretty hard life. And for a big part of that though, I thought I was the lad, you know. It's like my vision of success back in the day was if I had $100 bag of weed and a fridge full of piss, alcohol, I was a success. I was successful, you know what I mean? So anyway, turning my will and my life over to the care of God unreservedly, unconditionally. It's like power greater than me. I'm really, really, really screwed. I don't know how to get the hell out of this mess. I have no idea. I've tried. I've done what I can, and you know, I surrender, and it's unconditional, regardless of whether I get to keep my relationship, regardless of whether I get to keep my job, my house. It's an unconditional surrender to a power greater than myself. God, Chi, spirit, source, energy, whatever you want to call it, my highest self, yeah, for my highest good, etc. I remember saying in the last video, so when we do this, sincerely take this step 3, there's a lot of people in AA will say, hold off on your step 4. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Okay? We've just turned to, for lack of a better term, we've just turned to the Almighty. Alright? We've asked for the Almighty to take care, to protect and guide us. We've now got this courage, we've surrendered, and we just get into it, man. Get into your inventory, your resentments, your fears, your sex conduct. I'm using these terms from the 12 step, the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and yeah, and so with our resentments, we list people, places, institutions, principles that we are resentful at. So just to clarify, principles, what is it? You know, I got stuck on that one myself, and I always considered myself a reasonably sort of intelligent guy. It took me a while to come to terms with the principles. I couldn't figure it out, but then one day I was watching a movie, and the movie was about slavery back in the day in the States, and how the southern white man treated so cruelly the black man. And whenever I used to see that sort of stuff, I would cry. I'd tear up. It would make me very sad. I wouldn't actually cry, but I would tear up. I'd want to. And it dawned on me that the principle was about injustice. The principle is injustice. So I think when we really open our heart and our mind to want to heal this stuff, we get the intuitions, the little insights, the little gems come to us. So we do our inventory, then we come into step 5. We didn't touch this, it's now going 5, 6, 7, 8. Step 5, admitted to God, source, G, whatever you want, the devil if you like, as long as there's a power greater than you. Factoring the fact that when I say that, when we're new at this, we're coming from an egoic sort of place. Admitted to God, to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Now, when we're talking about the exact nature of our wrongs, when you go through that 12-step process and you do these workings, we're not trying to out-bad each other. You know, we're not trying to out-bad each other, and we're not who's got the worst war story. You know, it's the exact nature. In my particular case, I found that all of my defects of character, as purported in the 12-step program, my defects of character, or my flaws, came down to threatened or unsatisfied instincts. Instinct for emotional security, instinct for sexualization, instinct for financial security, instinct for social security. We have these instincts. Every human being, animals have them too, you know, have these instincts. And in my case, when these instincts were threatened in me, I would act out in ways of selfishness, self-seeking, dishonesty, fear, self-pity, to name a few. I would take control back. I would try to run the show again, and invariably I would end up in trouble and I would hurt people. Ties in back to what I was saying before about we act out of our unconscious. A lot of our behaviour comes out of our unconscious. At the root of that is fear, you know, fear. I found in step 5 that I could easily admit it to God. I could not as easily admit it to another human being, but I did do it because I knew that that was the consummation of the first 4 steps. But some of the admitting it to myself, I knew it intellectually, but when I sat back sometimes, you know that when you're getting honest with yourself and you sit back and you go, damn, it was me. It was me. I was the toxic one. I was the problem. It was me. It got nothing to do with him. And that can be a bitter hard pill to swallow. Step 5 is about humility and owning up, accountability to self, to God and to others. We don't have to go and shout it from the rooftops. We pick another human being, Definitely not your wife or husband. Definitely not your romantic partner or your mum and dad. But someone who you can trust. And now that might be a counsellor. In AA they talk about a closed-mouthed, trusted friend. I just want to make a highlight here that remember that the people that come into 12-step fellowships are broken, dysfunctional people, okay? And being a man or a woman that can be of integrity and really hold a confidence, that kind of shit takes practice, man. You know, you don't just come off the streets, as I did, and go, trust me, trust me. I won't tell anyone, you know. But as time went on, people have told me stuff I've never disclosed it, you know, to anyone, ever, and I won't. But I'm not saying that I have a wealth of integrity. That's something, it's a process. You know, I'm making progress with that. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. These two are very closely connected together. They all interlock. I personally am going through a fair bit of step 6 and 7 right now because stuff is coming up and I'm letting it go, and it's reaffirming again we're entirely ready to have God remove these things, or you might say we're entirely ready to unconditionally allow these energetic, traumatic experiences pass. Let them go, and stop doing them. Changed behaviour. Trying to do that out of willpower can be difficult. Doing that out of being empowered is a different deal altogether. So, you know, I'm letting shit go in the last 6 weeks. I had an incident, you know, 3-4 weeks ago. I was doing some full-on primal screaming. I had a huge, massive 36-hour trip of shame and unworthiness, and it was so fucking painful, man. It was probably the most painful thing that I've ever experienced in my life, and it was all around unworthiness and shame and perfectionism, and it was really, really hard, man. I can remember being in that experience, and it was like a bad ayahuasca trip. Like, God, stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. God, how do I stop this? How do I get out of this? And I just had to keep breathing and going, just be with it, man. Just embrace it, you know. Just embrace it. Let it pass through. There was an enormous amount of healing that's come through from that, and I'm eternally grateful to the trigger person that brought that up, that triggered that within me. And I'm extremely grateful for myself that I was fully, unconditionally willing to a great degree, to be mucking around in that slime and muck and grime and of shame and toxicity and pus and fucking awfulness that made me just want to decease, not exist anywhere, just not be, you know. Humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. That's exactly what I did. Humbly for me, you know, it was like, man, higher self of myself, I don't know, I have no mechanism, no formula, no method of releasing this. I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it. And as I've said before, I prided myself on being a pretty smart man, you know. And here I was, I just didn't know. So it was really about, for me, letting that energy really pass through me, and freely allowing it to pass through me. And it hurt, man. It really, really hurt. I had a huge bout of tonsillitis that came along. In my primal screaming, I scratched one of my tonsils from primal screaming so hard. It got infected, and I got a severe case of tonsillitis. I ended up in hospital with it. Didn't have my tonsils out, but I ended up in hospital. You know, and me being me, I looked at the metaphysical of that. What's the metaphysical of that? Well, what is this a manifestation of? So I looked it up, and and it said something about, along the lines of, which really resonated with me. I've taken a big bite of something that I thought was really, really good, and I'm so scared that I'll never get another bite of it that I didn't want to swallow it. I didn't want to swallow it. And so I got my throat, my tonsils, everything swelled up, my glands and everything. And what the bite of something that I got that I didn't want to swallow because I thought I'd never get any more was the idea of, well, not necessarily the idea, the feeling of a deep love connection. And I knew that I was pushing a woman away out of my own scarcity, my own unworthiness, and my own desperate vibration, and I didn't want her to go, I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know how to stop it. So that was, really, really, really difficult for me, a real difficult period of time. But as I've come through that now, I understand, especially in the last probably 5 days, I've been listening, because I listen to YouTube all the time, whatever it is that's going on for me. I learn about my attachment style, I learn about my shame, I learn about my toxicity, I learn about my own level of narcissism, whatever that might be. I learn about relationships, I learn about law of projection, Neville Goddard, not so much Abraham Hicks anymore. I used to listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks. And something in that never really resonated with me. And what is not made clear in Law of Attraction is, and I think I've said it in a previous video, most people come in and the first things they want to manifest is money and love. And the teachings are, if you just hold that vibration, hold it in your imagination, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Don't feel bad, don't feel negative, don't feel fear. Hold the vibration and it will come. And if you're anything like me and you did that for quite a while and it wasn't manifesting, you can only look at it. It's like, what the hell is wrong with me, man? I don't deserve it, or what the hell's going on? And that really is the truth of it, is that's the underlying vibration. So you can feel good all the fuck you like, but if you've got an underlying vibration of desperation, fear and scarcity, unworthiness and shame, you probably ain't gonna get it. Or you will get it, but you will only get a vibrational match to wherever you're vibrating at. It's been an exciting journey for me in the last 4 or 5 days, because I know that I'm expanding and I know that I'm beginning to push the envelope. I've never been a big proponent of the whole love and light thing in the spiritual community. Consciousness and character expansion is uncomfortable, and I willingly, consciously choose that uncomfortableness, that I will grow. I told you in a previous video, I want to buy a Triumph Bonneville. It's been a long dream of mine, And I had to question that motive too, because I've been on a few dating sites and chicks seem to love going on the back of motorbikes. So there was a few times where I thought, oh, that'll help me pull the chick sort of thing. But the truth of the matter is, I personally have always wanted a Triumph Bonneville, a 1975 Triumph Bonneville. I personally have wanted that. It's been a dream of mine. So I'm focusing on that dream. I've made inquiries there. I've got pictures going on now. I know I can get finance. I've got one sorted out. I'm just not in the area to go and view it at the moment, so I'll keep you updated on that. Moving right along though. We're entirely ready to have God remove them. Humbly ask God to remove these shortcomings because of my own egoic nature or my own, remember that we've been faced with a lot of the stuff. We've suppressed and repressed a lot of stuff. And there is the proverbial layers of the onion that need to come off to get, we've virtually packed a whole lot of styrofoam around the spirit core within us. We've put all these walls up, because we just haven't wanted to feel the pain. And the other thing too is, I noticed the other day, I haven't always wanted to feel my own sovereignty either. I've been a bit afraid of my own power, my own sovereignty, my own king. I won't use that word. My own sovereign energy, power, and boldness. And I had an experience the other day where I was at an RSL on the Sunshine Coast, and I did something that was very, very unfamiliar, and I went up to one of the prettiest woman in the bar to just go and tell her that she had a great smile and try and build a quick bit of rapport and get a phone number if I was lucky. It didn't pan out, but I didn't care. The point was I did it, and that's not kind of my normal behaviour. It's brand new behaviour, and that's okay. That's good. I was very, very proud of myself about that. So yeah, humbly ask them to remove our shortcomings because me of my own power, my own egoic power, or my unrealised power, unable to shift these things. And sometimes unwilling to. So there is a part in that step 6 though, I've read in the literature. We ask God to help us to be willing to let it go. The truth is, it's not serving us. But sometimes it's better the devil you know than the one you don't, So, wrapping up now, coming into step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed, became willing to make amends to them all. And it's important for me to say, to highlight, when you're doing these steps, don't be thinking about the next one, thinking about the one you're on. They're quite concise in the way they're constructed, and all we're asked of here in step 8 is make the list. That's all we're going to do, make the list. Johnny, Sam, my old high school, the prison I was in, the prison guard I spat on, whatever it is, just make the damn list. Because then we've got it in front of us and we become willing to make amends to them all. We become willing to make amends to them all. So, yeah, that's a long enough video, I think, 34 minutes. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. I wish you well, man. Whatever your journey whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Feel free to reach out. Shoot me a message. Check out my name on my channel is Dave Parbury. I'm on Facebook. Shoot me a message if you want. But yeah, baby. Rock on. Peace out. Catch you later.